Good morning, students. Today I am explaining a lesson about money and banking. Banking. This lesson is included in social science. It is for SSLC students and for PUC students because economics is included in PUC students. The name of that lesson is Credit Control Method of R.B.I. or Reserve Bank of India. Credit Control Method of R.B.I. or Reserve Bank of India. Yesterday I have already explained the main functions of R.B.I. What are the main functions? Important function I have already explained. That means monopoly of note issue, bankers bank, bankers to the government, lender of last resort, everything. Many points I have explained. Today, but the Reserve Bank is the apex body of the country. The entire economic activity is controlled by the Reserve Bank. There are different techniques which they can adopt to make a stability in the economy. Because in the economy, we can say that sometimes there may be upward trend and downward trend. Some kind of cyclical fluctuation may be happen. Sometimes there may be inflation, sometimes there may be deflation, sometimes there may be boom, recession. For example, nowadays due to this pandemic, coronavirus, almost all countries are facing a kind of recession or depression. Some economists points out that we can expect depression in the near future. So at that time, the Reserve Bank has to adopt different techniques. All these things are done to make a stability, to establish a stability in the economy. There are different techniques. We can see what are the different techniques which the Reserve Bank can adopt. Firstly, how they can regulate the economy by adopting different techniques. One is called as quantitative method, and another is a qualitative method. These are the two important techniques. Quantitative method and qualitative method. Quantitative method. What is meant by quantitative method? We can understand what is meant by quantitative techniques or method. In the year of 1949, the government has already passed a resolution stating that the Reserve Bank has full power to adopt any policy to make stability in the country. 1949, the banking committee the government has already passed a resolution or act stating that the Reserve Bank has full power to adopt any techniques to make stability in the country. So, I told you that there are two types of techniques which the Reserve Bank can adopt to regulate the monetary supply or make stability in the economy. First one is that quantitative method. What is meant by quantitative? There are different categories included in the quantitative techniques. The first one is a bank rate or repo rate. Bank rate or repo rate. What is meant by this bank rate? Bank rate is the rate which the Reserve Bank is charging from the commercial banks by lending. Bank rate is the rate which the Reserve Bank is charging or discounting. The Reserve Bank is charging the commercial banks or repo rate, we can say repo rate. If the bank rate is high, it means that it will affect the credit creation. It affect the people. If the Reserve Bank, if the repo rate is off, if the bank rate is low, what is the consequence? Because almost all people will try to get credit from the bank. That is the result, ultimate result of this bank rate. So bank rate influences the economy. When there is inflation or when there is rising prices, the Reserve Bank will automatically raise the rate of interest or repo rate. The consequence or the result will be that the buyers will try to reduce their loan. They will try to reduce. They will not try to accept the loans because they may think that they will have to pay higher rate of interest to the bank. So by fearing that, they will try to avoid for taking loans from the bank. So it depends upon the condition of the economy. During the inflationary period, it is only natural that bank rate they will try to increase the bank rate. But at the same time, during the deflationary period, that means when the price level is very low and when the employment opportunity is very low, or during the depression, there is no purchasing power. If the purchasing power is very low, the people cannot buy anything from in the market. So the government will try to reduce the bank rate. When the bank rate is reduced, almost all people will try to increase their purchasing power. They will go to the bank and they will try to get a credit. So that system is called as this repo rate or bank rate. First one, quantitative method. Bank rate, which is the rate which central bank gives the commercial banks for loan. When the Reserve Bank, it is the rate at which the central bank gives the commercial banks, or it is also called as a repo rate. It depends upon the condition of the economy or country, you can say. Next one is that open market operation. Open market operation. Sometimes the government, the Reserve Bank will buy and sell some government securities and the gold and some other receipts. Sometimes they will sell and sometimes they will buy also. Sometimes they will buy. Open market operation. They are directly entering the market and they are buying, purchasing bonds, securities and debentures and gold, etc. from the market, from the government. So when they are purchasing that thing, that means the total volume of country will be reduced. The total money supply in the country will be reduced. So when the money supply is reduced, the purchasing power of the people will be reduced. When the purchasing power of the people is very high, what will happen? The price of the commodity will be increased. If you are having so much money, if your purchasing power is very high, you will be ready to buy. You will be ready to pay any amount for the commodity. It means that price rise may happen. So at the time of price rise and at the time of price decrease, the Reserve Bank can adopt this techniques. Open market operation. Directly they can enter the market and they can purchase or they can sell some share, debentures, gold and some other securities, etc. So second one, open market operation. First one, I told you that. What is it? Bank rate. Bank rate. Second, open market operation. Open market operation. Next one is that variable reserve requirements. Variable reserve requirements. Every commercial banks, they will have to keep a portion of their deposit to the central bank or Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank will direct all the commercial banks to deposit a certain percentage of their total percentage of their deposit to the central bank or Reserve Bank. It is called as this reserve ratio, reserve cash reserve ratio, or CRR is called CRR or cash reserve ratio. Sometimes the Reserve Bank tells the commercial bank to deposit a percentage of their deposit to the central bank. Sometimes they may try to increase, the percentage may increase, or sometimes the percentage may decrease. It depends upon the economic money supply in the country. If the money supply is very large in the country, the Reserve Bank will tell the commercial banks, or the Reserve Bank will increase the percentage of that CRR. If the money supply in the country is very high, if the money supply is more in the country, or if the money supply is more in the economy, the Reserve Bank will tell the commercial banks to increase the ratio of that CR or cash or reserve requirements. That's another thing. Next one is that the SLR. CRR and SLR is another thing. CRR, cash reserve requirements. Then SLR, that means statutory liquidity ratio. Statutory liquidity ratio. The Reserve Bank directs the banks to keep a certain percentage of their deposit in the form of gold, silver, or some other assets. That amount, they should not lend that amount to the public. That amount should be deposited in the bank itself. So all the commercial banks should have to maintain, or they will have to keep a percentage of their total deposit in the form of silver, gold, or some other government securities. That is called SLR. One is CRR, cash reserve requirements. Other one is SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. CRR means the Reserve Bank should keep a percent. The Reserve Bank should keep a certain percentage of their deposit to the central bank. It is called as the CRR. The Reserve Bank should keep a certain percentage of their deposit to the Reserve Bank. All commercial banks should keep a certain percentage of their deposit to the central bank or Reserve Bank. It is called CRR. Then SLR means all the commercial banks should keep a certain amount of their deposit in their bank itself, in the form of gold, silver, or some other government security. That's another thing. So it may vary. Sometimes the rate of keeping this reserve may vary. It depends upon the situation I told you. It depends upon the economic condition in the country. During the inflation, whether it is inflation or deflation or depression, the Reserve Bank can understand the economic condition of the country. Based on that thing, the Reserve Bank will change the percentage of CRR or percentage of SLR. It influences the economy. Next one is that we can say all these are the important quantitative method. All these things are quantitative method. First one, again I am saying yes that again I will tell what is the first one. Repo rate or bank rate. Bank rate first, bank rate. That means the Reserve Bank will fix a bank rate. It is the lending rate of the Reserve Bank to the commercial bank. It is the lending rate of Reserve Bank to the commercial banks. That is, it is also called as a repo rate or bank rate. Next one is that open market operation. Sometimes the Reserve Bank will directly enter the market and they will purchase or sell some government bonds and securities. Sometimes they will directly enter the market and they will purchase or sell some bonds, securities, debentures, or some other gold from the market. It is called as this open market operation. So they can reduce or they can increase the volume of money supply by adopting this technique. Next important thing is that CRR. Next one is CRR and SLR. CRR is the Reserve Bank directs the commercial bank to keep a certain percentage of their deposit to the central bank or Reserve Bank. Sometimes it may vary according by seeing the condition of the economy. Next one is that SLR or statutory liquidity ratio. That means a percentage of the deposit should be kept in the bank itself in the form of gold or some other assets, valuable assets, silver or some other as government securities. It is called SLR. So these are the important quantitative method. Next one is that there's another thing. It is called as a qualitative. One is quantitative. Next, qualitative method. Under this qualitative method, the Reserve Bank adopting this method to understand the purpose of giving loans or advances. It regulates or it understands quality for what purpose loan is given. For what purpose loan is given by the commercial bank. So it regulates the consumer's credit really. It is a regulation of consumer's credit. By qualitative method, the Reserve Bank regulates the consumer's credit. Sometimes the Reserve Bank is giving some loan for purchasing some electronic equipments or some other things, other equipment. Sometimes so the Reserve Bank can regulate that thing. By using this qualitative method, the Reserve Bank can direct the commercial bank not to lend a loan for this kind of purpose if there is inflation or if there is increase in supply of money. The same way, next one is that fixation of marginal requirements and fixation of marginal requirements. Fixation of marginal requirements. So that means that the commercial bank, when the commercial bank is giving a loan to the consumer or when the commercial bank is giving credit to the consumer, they will try to get a guarantee. They will try to get some asset or security or surety. So sometimes you think that suppose you think that if the value of a security is 1 lakh rupees, the commercial bank will give only 40% or 30% or 50%, whatever may be. But we not think. Anyway, the commercial bank will not give the full amount of that value of that security. Again, I am saying that if the commercial bank is giving a loan to the, or if the commercial bank is giving a credit to the consumer, firstly, they will demand a security. Sometimes the security, we can imagine that the value of the security is 1 lakh rupees. So the Reserve Bank, commercial bank is ready to give 40% of that value. That means 40,000. They will not give 1 lakh. Sometimes they will give 50% or 30%. It depends upon the direction of the Reserve Bank. So when the Reserve Bank thinks that there is over money supply in the country, Reserve Bank will direct the commercial bank to raise the marginal requirement, to raise. Now suppose now the present situation is you give 50% of the value of the security. The Reserve Bank directs the commercial bank, you can give 50% of the value of the total value of the security. The value is 1 lakh. The Reserve Bank says that you can give 50% of the total value. But if the Reserve Bank thinks that money supply is very high in the country, so there is inflation, the purchasing power of the people is very high, which causes rise of commodity or inflation is there. So when the Reserve Bank thinks that there is inflation, it can direct the commercial bank, you don't give 50%, you give 40% or 30%. Because then only the total money supply can be reduced. So the Reserve Bank, commercial bank will give only 40% to the people. That 40,000 rupees will be given. They will not give full amount 1 lakh. Previously they have given 50,000. But as per the direction of that central bank or Reserve Bank, now they are giving only 40% or 30%. It depends upon the condition of the economy. So it is called as this, what is it? A fixation of marginal reserve requirement. Marginal reserve requirements. Marginal reserve requirement, MRR. It depends upon the economic condition of the country. That's one thing. Next one is that regulation of consumers' credit. The Reserve Bank, sometimes the Reserve Bank will say, don't give loans for unnecessary purpose, or you should be very strict while giving loans. Sometimes the commercial bank are giving loans for purchases of electronic items or some other commodities or household items. The Reserve Bank sometimes will say, you stop such things, don't give loan to such activities. So it also regulates the total money supply. Next one is like moral suasion. Moral suasion means sometimes it gives advice to the sometimes it will give advice to the commercial bank not to give loans for unnecessary purpose, not to give more loans, or many other things. It also depends upon the condition of the economy. Moral suasion, it is called persuades or give advice, moral suasion. Sometimes the Reserve Bank will give advice or moral suasion to the commercial banks to control the credit based on the condition of the economy. Next one is that direct action. Direct action. If the Reserve Bank thinks that the commercial banks are not following or they are not following the rules, they can directly enter and they will impose a penal rate of interest from the commercial bank. The Reserve Bank can directly enter and they can say or they can impose the penal interest from the commercial banks if the commercial banks are not taking their advice. If the Reserve Bank thinks that the commercial banks are not following their advice, it can directly enter and they can impose a penal rate of interest. It is another thing. Next, credit rationing. That means because sometimes the Reserve Bank says don't give more amount. You just reduce the total amount or total credit given to the people. If the Reserve Bank thinks that volume of money supply is very large in the economy, immediately it will advise the commercial banks to reduce the total volume of money supply. Don't give more loan to the people. It is also another technique. Next one is that sometimes the Reserve Bank will publish some magazines or journals, etc. Publicity is given. Publicity. In order to understand all the situation in the economy or the country, sometimes the Reserve Bank will publish some journals or magazines, etc. for the understanding of commercial banks and all others. It is also another duty. So, one is quantitative method and next one is that qualitative method. Two types of techniques which the Reserve Bank can adopt. In the case of quantitative method, I told you that it was 1949, the government has already passed an act or passed a resolution giving full authority to the Central Bank of India to make every steps, to make all sorts of steps to regulate the money supply. So the Reserve Bank is full authority to do anything. The government cannot interfere, government will not interfere. So the Reserve Bank has two methods to control credit in the country or to control the volume of money supply. The Reserve Bank can adopt two techniques to control the total volume of money supply in the country. One is called as this quantitative method, quantitative. Another is called qualitative, quality and quantity. Quantity, that is directly it will affect the business people and the other class or other consumers. Quantitative. Directly it will affect the business people or some other people also. It is called quantitative techniques. So under that quantitative techniques, first is bank rate. I told you that bank rate is the rate at which the Central Reserve Bank charges, or bank rate is the rate at which the Reserve Bank lends to the commercial banks. Sometimes the bank rate may be increased or sometimes it may be decreased. It is based on the total volume of money supply in the country. Next one is that open market operation. The Reserve Bank can directly enter the market and purchase some bonds and security, or it can sell also. Purchasing and selling activity of bonds and security. The government, the Reserve Bank will directly purchase or sells some bonds and debentures from the market. Which is also another thing. Government securities or some other gold or bonds etc. can be purchased, or sometimes it can be sold also. It depends upon the economic condition of the country. It is another thing. Next one is that variable reserve requirement. That's also very important. Variable, vary means change. Variable reserve requirements. There are two types included in this. One is called as this CRR. CRR means cash reserve ratio. Cash reserve ratio. That means this commercial bank should keep a certain amount of certain percentage of their total deposit to the central bank. It is called the cash reserve ratio. Every commercial bank should keep a certain amount of their deposit to the central bank. It is called as this cash reserve ratio. Next one is that SLR, that is statutory liquidity ratio. It means that every commercial bank should keep a certain amount of their total deposit in the bank itself in the form of a gold, silver or some other government securities. It is SLR. So there may be some variation for these two items also. Sometimes the total volume or the percentage which they should keep may be increased or decreased. It depends upon the total volume of money supply in the country. That is another thing. So quantitative method, you should remember the three main points you should not forget. One is again open market, variable reserve requirements. Then another one is that bank rate. Next one, qualitative method. I told you qualitative method. That means under this method, one is the regulation of money supply, regulation of consumers' credit. One is regulation. It regulates the consumers' credit. For what purpose the Reserve Bank is giving credit to the consumers? For what purpose the Reserve Bank is giving credit to the consumers? It is called regulation or regulators. Next one, fixation of margin requirements. Fixation of margin requirements. I told you, every commercial bank should keep a certain percentage of their total deposit in the bank itself, in their bank itself. It may be either in the form of gold, silver or government securities. That is fixation of margin requirements. Very important. Qualitative. Under qualitative technique you should understand. Fixation of margin requirement. Every commercial bank should keep a certain percentage of their total deposits in the form of silver, gold or some other securities in the bank. Next one is that moral suasion. Sometimes the Reserve Bank will persuade or advise. Sometimes the bank will advise the commercial banks to do certain action. You don't give more amounts, etc. That's an advice given by the Reserve Bank. Next one is direct action. If the Reserve Bank gives some direction to the commercial bank to follow certain steps, but at the same time commercial banks are not following that steps or advice, the Reserve Bank can directly enter and they can impose a penal rate of interest to the bank. Next one is credit rationing. The Reserve Bank will give advice. You give loan for productive purpose, don't give loan for unnecessary purpose. You try to reduce the total credit given to the consumers, etc. It is rationing of credit ration or rationing of credit. Next one, sometimes publicity magazines. Yeah, sometimes it will publish every month. They will publish some, or once in 6 months they will publish some magazines or journals stating all the details, stating the economic condition of the country, etc. So all these are the important points which I have already explained. I think that you have already understood. In the last class I told you different types of money. I told you That means metallic money, I told you, last paper currency, I told you, previously barter system was there, I told you, barter system, important advantages, disadvantages of barter system, you know what are the features of barter system, everything I already explained. After that, the evolution was happened in the field of money, I told. Then metallic coins was happened, coins were exchanged, gold and silver and bronze, etc. were exchanged. They were used as a medium of exchange. It also made some difficulty. That means it was very difficult to carry such money, such metals from one place to another. Then promissory notes was issued by the government. It also made some difficulty. Lastly, paper currency issued by the government is a legal tender money. Paper, very important. Legal tender money is a paper currency issued by the government. So, lastly, the government followed this step. The government thought that paper currency guaranteed by the government is required. It is called as legal tender money. Nobody can reject the legal tender money. If you want to get money from a person, if they are giving notes, currency, you cannot reject. You cannot say that no, I will not accept this money. It is a legal tender money. Legally, it is correct. Government is already giving guarantee, so it is called as legal tender money. Different countries are following, named different names. In our country, in India, we are rupee. We are saying rupee. But at the same time, you can see dollar is the name. Dollar is the legal tender in USA, America. Dollar is the legal tender in USA. Don't forget. Dollar. Next, pound. You can say pound is followed in England, Britain, UK. Pound. They are following pound. Next one is euro. In European countries, they followed and they found another legal tender, euro. EURO, euro. Next in Japan, it is also, they are following yen, yen. Yen is the legal tender. Yen is the legal tender money in Japan. They are following yen. Then yuan, you know, China. China follows yuan. They are following their legal tender. Their legal tender is yuan. So don't forget one more question. Sometimes you can expect one more. Yuan is followed. Yuan is accepted, or yuan is used in China. Yuan. Next, yen, yen is used in Japan. Next, euro is used in European countries. Pound is used in UK or Britain. Next, dollar is used in USA. Next, rupee is used in India. These are all legal tender money. So today I stopped. I think that all of you understood this thing. Tomorrow I will give another lesson. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to subscribe.